Are F1 tracks faster or slower when driven in reverse? Part 2. So you guys enjoyed the first part of this new series then, whereby we took the first two tracks, Australia and Bahrain, and we drove them in reverse to see whether it would be quicker or slower when driven backwards. Of course, it does change the characteristics of the circuits very, very slightly. So as this is part 2, we're going to do the next two tracks in the 2020 calendar order. First up, it's Hanoi. Just before we get into Hanoi, I've got two things to ask of you. Number one, if you're watching this within the first hour or so of release, I'm live on Twitch right now. Go and follow the link down in the description to my Twitch. I'm probably live playing iRacing right now with Matt Gallagher and Jody Mills. So go watch me there right now before you watch this video. If you're not watching this in the first hour of release, well, first of all, thank you for watching my video. But don't forget to press the subscribe button down below, the big red button. If you're not already subscribed, give it a press. Also follow me on Twitch. I am live there a couple of times a week now. Let's get on with the video. Here we go then, my first ever lap backwards on Hanoi. This corner is going to be weird backwards, and honestly, let's be honest, it's not a great track in forwards, so I got no idea what it's going to be like in reverse. I'm not going to lie to you, but let's see how we get on. So that first corner wasn't too bad actually. That actually felt better, that first corner, as did that one. That didn't feel so tight in reverse. So at the moment, it's a better track in reverse. This should be a case of building speed through these. Oh god, not build quite that much speed though. Okay, it should be flat from here, I reckon. Oh, it's weird in reverse. It's hard to get your bearings. Oh my god, no, corner, there's a corner. There's a corner there. That braking zone is going to be really tricky. Try and get that one right. It's going to take me a few laps to get that one right, I'm pretty sure. Next corner is the tightest corner on the circuit. Of course, braking zone is always a difficult thing. Brake far too early there. Brake for the first apex, not the second one. Oh wow, that is so tight. That is going to be tricky to find the braking zone for that, but it should be quite straightforward once I do find the braking zone. This, of course, one of the longest straights. DRS wide open, opens earlier, but then shuts earlier as well. It was shut before. There you go, it's already shut now. It's shut before we even get to the corner. Quite a long way for the corner, actually. And oh god, this is an awful corner. Okay, brake way too early. That's probably better, though. That bit is probably better. But this bit is going to be weird. It's going to be long, and then a late apex. Honestly, better, though. This bit maybe not, but honestly that roundabout section was probably better because it's such a bad corner. So far it's a bit weird in reverse, but genuinely better in some ways. Now I don't have a clue. Okay, that's not, wasn't far off what we need to do. This corner is going to be weird. Honestly, this so far is a better track in reverse. Do one more corner. Oh god, so far it's a better track in reverse. This corner's not great, but a lot of the corners are actually better. But let's see if I still think it's better when I've done a few more sweat laps and I've actually got a good lap to show you. Here we go then. This is my best lap that I managed in reverse. So coming now down the start-finish straight. It is still a start-finish straight, of course. And once again, in the top left there, we do have the best forward lap played in reverse, and the times of course are perfectly in sync as we cross the line, so we can get a good comparison to a normal forwards lap compared to a backwards lap. And I will say my first suspicions were correct. This is a better track in reverse, but obviously it's not really saying much since it is Hanoi. But anyway, coming to this fast section then, we are flat out from here just about. We're pretty close to the walls. This probably wouldn't be allowed in real life just because it's too close to the walls too quickly. Braking right down to third gear. This is one of the mistakes I make in the lap, just tapping the wall of the exit there. Not great, but that corner's quite fun to do. It feels like a bit more pacey in reverse for some reason. This corner as well, the exit is a lot better. It's still incredibly tight, but basically I think a lot of the Hanoi circuits basically tighten on the exit, which is not a fun thing to drive. However, obviously when you do it in reverse, they sort of tighten on or they even tighten on the entrance because you're just kind of braking, perhaps turning slightly. They're not too bad. DRS there does shut halfway down the straight, and you actually slow down by a couple of kilometers an hour as DRS does shut. This corner's quite fun actually in reverse, braking really late, getting it all slowed down. It still feels quite long, but not nearly as long as it does in forwards. Tiny stab of the throttle there, down to second gear, hammering the curbs, now down the last back straight. Let's call it the last back straight in this particular format. DRS wide open once again. DRS is open for this entire straight. And again, this next section is a bit more fun in reverse. Getting it also down to fourth gear, trying to hang it out, I guess, on the throttle there. Up to fourth gear, braking just so you see the dotted lines on the floor there. Down to third to take a nice late apex to get open up the next corner, or the final corner, the first corner, whatever you want to call it. As we now run to the line, looks like it's going to be pretty close with the forwards lap that is being played in reverse in the top left. Let's have a look what the time is going to be. Yes, indeed. Just, well, about 14 frames or so at 60 FPS. So what's that, about a quarter of a second or so, a couple of tenths, well within, I normally sort of say about a half a second margin of error for these videos, because of course, you know, I've done about half an hour on this track. I've not sweated out for hours and hours to get a perfect lap, so I normally give about half a second, so pretty similar speed, which is a bit surprising. I thought it felt a bit quicker in reverse, but clearly not. But like I said, definitely more fun in reverse. That first turn was, you know, the first turn, last turn, the one we just did, the last turn in reverse, was probably the only one that was actually a bit worse because it was really tricky to get around there. But the rest of the track was actually more fun. But again, it is Hanoi. It's not really saying much. But anyway, let's move on now to China in reverse. So here we go. And this is it's actually my third lap around China backwards, because I did a couple laps because I forgot to do a live commentary of the first lap because I am a genius like that. So instead we're going to do a live commentary on my third lap backwards, but I'm still very much getting to grips with it. So that first corner there, or last corner now, is actually quite tricky, but halfway through the corner you can get on the power. This one I'm still trying to figure out the braking zone of. Is it about there? It is about there, but slowing down too much. And now coming towards the very, very sharp hairpin. This one's actually not too bad. It's not much different backwards as it is forwards. Doesn't feel much different anyway. The braking is more or less in a straight line. The accelerating is more or less in a straight line, same as it is forwards. Coming down the DRS zone now, and I think once again we're gonna, DRS is gonna shut just so we reach what is the VMAX without DRS. Annoyingly, now this one is really tricky. I'm still trying to get to grips with this one because, of course, it's on camber, then suddenly goes off camber, and there's also a tiny little straight after it. So still trying to get to grips with that one. The same as this one, really tight corner. The bumps are really tricky as well in reverse. This is not going to be an easy one to master in reverse. This one as well, still just trying to figure it out. That's obviously way too hot, but we ended up taking a nice line anyway, but a little bit off the track. Now this one again tricky. I thought this would all be flat, but very much not so. This one is not flat. Next one is flat though, if you can get a half decent line, which we've just about done, right on the limit. But still trying to figure out the braking zone for this one. Again, it's tricky because the track kind of curves away from you there, so it's quite tricky to judge. Go a little bit deep, but we do get it stopped and get around the corner safe enough. Coming out the first couple of corners, whatever you want to call it. Again, still trying to get to grips with this one. A curvy braking zone, interestingly using that inside curve, which you never normally do. Never normally go anywhere near that. Little bit of a misty there. That goes off camber very slightly there, makes it tricky. This again, such a long call. You have to wait. Now you can get on the power, and now you go for it. Still running a little bit wide, but managed to keep it on track. Now let's skip forward to an actually decent lap around China backwards. Here we go then with a decent lap around China backwards. So here we go once again. This last turn, first turn, I would never know what to call these corners. The turn we're going through right now is actually really tricky in reverse. It feels really tight, and you just have to wait before you can get on the power, and then you stand on the throttle when you're sort of around about halfway through the corner. Braking as you get to the curb on the left hand side of down to fifth gear. Take all of the curbs as much as you can carry a bit more speed than I did just then, but that wasn't bad. Braking, get it also down to first gear. Try and take a late-ish apex. You don't really want to be on that curb, but I was finding it hard to actually brake deep enough to not be on the curb. And now coming down the very, very long back straight. And once again, similar to Hanoi, the DRS actually closes now, and we actually start to slow down very, very slightly. We're sort of more or less at VMAX without DRS roundabout now. This corner is really tricky because it's quite bumpy, and you get back on the power there because there's a very small straight as well after the long corner. Getting it all turned through here, and again, these are sort of off-camber corners, so they're quite tricky, quite slow as well. Managed to navigate those quite nicely though. Up now through the gears, taking some curb there, and just trying to chuck it in. Not great through there. You can see a couple of corrections on the steering wheel. Definitely could have probably carried a little bit more speed there. And this one again is tricky. You just have to wait until you see that blue barrier there on the outside, and then you can get on the power. This next corner is absolutely flat, no problem whatsoever, as long as you have a half decent line, which I do just about there. Braking earlier than you think for this one, getting it also down. It is quite a tight turn. And on the exit now into what I'm going to call the last sector, but is normally known as the first sector, of course. Next corner is quite tricky because you brake more or less as you get to the apex there. Brake in a straight line, get it all slowed down for a nice late apex, which do nice, and it does go briefly off camber there. Between the corners, so you have to be quite cautious, and again, just wait. Now we're on the power. You really have to wait a long time. It's quite tricky to get a good line. And I will say about China is that it actually felt quite similar to the main track. Actually, it didn't feel that much different, interestingly, but there you go. You see the difference there. About half a second or so slower in reverse. Probably right on the limit of what I would call kind of the leeway that we give ourselves, because it's not a perfect lap, and obviously I'm more used to racing it forward than I am backwards, and I'm not going to grind it for hours and hours. So I would say China is a little bit slower in reverse, a little bit slower. Of course, DRS does affect it. We would prefer DRS at the higher speed zones, not the lower speed zones, so that probably cost us a tenth or so, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, I would say China is actually very slightly slower in reverse. So there we have it. That was Hanoi and China in reverse. Not going to lie, don't like either of those tracks very much, even in forwards. Hanoi, as I said, was actually an improvement in reverse, interestingly. Not by a huge amount. It still wasn't a great track in reverse. It's not like suddenly it turned into an incredible track in reverse. I also actually normally like stop-start circuits. I always used to like Valencia, for example. It was actually better in reverse. I think it's because it made a lot of the longer corners where they sort of tightened on the exit, which are never nice to drive. They became your braking points and your entry points, so they were a bit better, I think. So Hanoi's slightly better. It's very similar speed in reverse. China, honestly, very similar. You know, there was a few bits that perhaps weren't optimized very well. Maybe that's a game thing. A few bumps that were a bit dodgy. A few off-camber points that you probably try and flatten out if you were regularly running in that direction. But the feel of the circuit didn't really change, which I found really interesting. It was broadly the same. There was certainly some tricky corners there, but overall felt quite similar. And of course, was very slightly slow in reverse in the tests that I did. But anyway, guys, don't forget to smash the like button on this video if you want to see another episode of this to do the next 2 tracks in the 2020 calendar. And I thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Bye bye.